Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. The rapid rise of glucagon-like peptide 1 or GLP-1 receptor agonists for weight loss has reshaped how obesity is treated around the world. For many patients, these therapies have offered new hope, helping with weight reduction, improving metabolic health, and even lowering the risk of certain chronic diseases. But alongside this surge in popularity, the FDA has become increasingly aware that some patients and even healthcare providers are turning to unapproved versions of GLP-1 drugs. At first glance, these alternatives may seem attractive. They are often marketed as more affordable or easier to access, especially during times when approved products were in short supply. However, these unapproved versions carry significant risks. In early 2026, the FDA began taking more decisive steps to address this issue. In February, the agency announced its intent to tighten restrictions on the use of GLP-1 active pharmaceutical ingredients, or APIs, in non-FDA-approved compounded drugs. A key part of this effort involves restricting the import and use of APIs from non-compliant foreign sources. To support this, the FDA has introduced what is known as a Green List import alert system. Under this system, only ingredients sourced from verified and compliant facilities are allowed into the U.S. supply chain. This step aims to ensure that the raw materials used in medications meet strict quality standards. At the same time, the FDA has turned its attention to how these products are being marketed. The agency has issued multiple warnings to telehealth providers, including well-known platforms such as Hims and Hers. These warnings focus on misleading advertising practices. Some companies have promoted non-FDA-approved compounded products as if they were generic versions or direct equivalents of approved drugs. Others have claimed that their products use the same active ingredients or have been clinically proven to deliver similar results. According to the FDA, such claims are not only inaccurate but also potentially dangerous, as they can mislead patients into believing they are receiving the same level of safety and effectiveness as approved therapies. Regulatory pressure has already led to tangible changes. For example, Hims and Hers stopped offering its compounded semaglutide pill after being referred to the Department of Justice and facing increased scrutiny in early February 2026. This move reflects the broader enforcement trend, as authorities step up efforts to ensure compliance across the industry. Behind all of these actions lies a fundamental issue: demand. When demand outpaces supply, gaps in the system can quickly be filled by products that may not meet safety standards. However, the situation has begun to shift. Supplies of brand-name GLP-1 drugs have stabilized, and with that, the temporary regulatory flexibility that allowed pharmacies to produce copycat versions is coming to an end. At the core of the FDA's concern is the fact that unapproved GLP-1 drugs have not gone through the agency's comprehensive review process. FDA-approved medications must demonstrate safety and effectiveness through well-controlled clinical trials. They must also meet strict standards for manufacturing quality, ensuring that each dose is consistent and produced under safe conditions. In contrast, compounded or unapproved versions bypass these requirements. As a result, there is no reliable way to confirm what is actually in these products, how they are made, or whether they will work as intended. Quality issues are a major part of the problem. Reports have identified a range of concerns, including incorrect dosing and the use of unapproved salt forms of active ingredients. These variations can significantly affect how the drug behaves in the body. For injectable GLP-1 medications, proper storage is also critical. These drugs often require refrigeration to maintain stability. Yet some compounded products have been shipped without adequate temperature control, raising questions about whether they remain effective or even safe by the time they reach the patient. Dosing errors present another serious risk. When formulations differ from approved standards, patients may receive too much or too little of the active ingredient. This can increase the likelihood of side effects or reduce the treatment's effectiveness. In some cases, patients may believe they're following a standard dosing regimen, only to find that the product they are using does not match those expectations. The FDA has also received reports of adverse events linked to compounded or unapproved GLP-1 products. Some of these cases have been severe enough to require hospitalization. In the most concerning situations, products have been found to contain entirely different medications than what was expected. These incidents highlight the dangers of an unregulated supply chain, where quality control cannot be guaranteed. Given these risks, the FDA's guidance for patients is both clear and practical. First and foremost, patients should use only GLP-1 medications that are FDA approved and prescribed by a licensed healthcare provider. Patients are also advised to avoid purchasing GLP-1 drugs from unverified sources. This includes websites, social media platforms, or vendors that do not require a prescription or that label products as for research use only. Such labels are often used to bypass regulatory requirements and should be treated as a warning sign rather than reassurance. Careful inspection of any medication is another important step. Patients should look for clear labeling, including the name of the manufacturer and detailed instructions for use. Unusual packaging, missing information, or instructions that differ from standard medical guidance should raise concerns. For injectable products, temperature is a key factor. If a medication arrives warm or appears to have been improperly stored, it should not be used. Awareness of misleading claims is equally important. Products advertised as generic or equivalent versions of FDA-approved GLP-1 drugs without formal approval should be approached with caution. Marketing language can be persuasive, but it does not replace scientific evidence or regulatory review. Patients are encouraged to rely on trusted medical advice rather than promotional materials when making decisions about their treatment. Finally, open communication with healthcare providers remains essential. Patients should report any side effects or concerns as soon as they arise. They should also avoid starting, stopping, or switching medications without professional guidance. In summary, the FDA's actions against non-approved GLP-1 drugs reflect a broader effort to protect public health. While these medications represent a major advancement in the treatment of obesity, their benefits depend on careful regulation and proper use. For patients, the message is straightforward. Focus on safety, seek guidance from qualified professionals, and choose treatments that have been thoroughly evaluated and approved. That's all for today. If you find this content interesting and helpful, don't forget to give a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.